you can draw this in Procreate. It's time for another pen and ink Procreate drawing tutorial. It seems like you enjoyed the last one a lot, so I thought let's create another one. I will be guiding you through all the steps as always, and at the end you will have a fantastic result that you will just want to share. If you're sharing it on Instagram, do be sure to tag me in the image, not just in the description, because that way I will be able to find your work and maybe we will see it in the next video. Just like these amazing results from my friends at Patreon. That's the place you need to go if you want to support this channel or if you want to watch more than 100 Procreate tutorials ranging from beginner levels to more advanced levels. But now let's get started with this tutorial. We'll be working on a canvas that is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels. We will be using a photo that I have linked in the description, and we will be using my fine liner brush, which is free. You can find it in a treasure chest brush pack. If you don't already have it, do be sure to go to freefromflow.com to get a whole bunch of free brushes and my ebook about color theory. There won't be a lot of color in this illustration though, so you won't need a color palette. So now let's get started. First, we are going to start with a little sketch. And I would like to use the 6B pencil in this case. You can find it under sketching. It's a Procreate standard brush, but of course you can use any sketching brush you prefer. Now for the color I'm using, I'm going to use this color during the entire tutorial. Let me show you under value. This is the code for my color. It's 3C, 3C, 3C. You can just enter it here, or you can go to your disk and just grab a medium gray. So I have my brush. I have the opacity set to 100% and the size is at 40. And we are going to start by drawing an oval. And in Procreate, that's super easy. Of course, you can just draw an oval like this and then hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape. Then tap edit here, and then you can move it around. You can adjust it a little bit, make it a bit more rounded. For instance, I want to go for something like this. I do want to make sure that it's nicely like horizontal. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool. That's the little arrow up here. So tap that. Then here at the bottom under snapping, turn on snapping. And now we'll want to make sure that our oval is in the center of our canvas. So let's move it around a little bit. You don't have to have your pen inside the shape. You can just be outside of it. And then wait until you see that vertical orange line. Let's place it about here. And then we are going to duplicate this. You can do that by going to the layer menu, the two little squares. We'll slide to the left on the layer and then tap duplicate. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool again, the little arrow, and we are going to move this downward a little bit. So to about here, or maybe a little bit lower, something like this. Then what we can do is go to the layer menu and we can pinch these two layers together. So we can just pinch with our fingers. And then we can duplicate this layer again. So again, we'll slide to the left, then we'll tap duplicate, and then we'll go back to the move and transform tool, the little arrow. And now we are going to move it all the way down. Let me move the canvas up a little. We are going to move it all the way down to create the bottom part of our hourglass. And do make sure that you see that vertical line and place it about here. Then we can go back to the layer menu. We can pinch these together again. Then we'll go back to the move and transform tool again because we want to make sure that it's not just in the vertical center, but also in the horizontal center. So tap the arrow, move it upward until you see both a vertical and a horizontal orange line, and then tap the arrow again. Now the reason we need this to be centered is because we are going to use the 4-way symmetry tool. And we are going to turn that on to continue with our sketch. So what you have right now is these 4 ovals on one layer. And now we will go to the wrench. Then we'll go to canvas. And then we will turn on the drawing guide. Then we will tap edit drawing guide. And then here at the bottom, you will see symmetry. Then you need to go to options and you can turn on quadrant. Now usually with like the vertical symmetry tool, whatever you paint on the left side will also show up on the right side, but now whatever you paint or draw here will also show up here, but also here and here, which is super handy for our hourglass. So have it set to quadrant, have assisted drawing turned on, and then tap done. Now first we are going to erase some lines. Let's tap and hold the eraser to let the eraser switch to the 6B pencil. And then over here, we are going to erase this line. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, 50%. Let's erase that line and a little bit of this area. So you'll end up with an oval over here and a line on top. Now we'll go back to the brush and we will continue sketching. Let's zoom in a little bit and let's connect these two parts. So now it's like a disc. Then over here we are going to create a little circle. You can hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and then when you tap one finger on the screen, it'll turn into a perfectly round circle. You can also tap circle here if you want to edit it, if you want to move it around. You can place it about here. Then tap the brush to get back. And now we are going to make a rounded line over here. Let's rotate a little bit. Let's make a line like this towards the center. And it's following that curve at the top. Then go down here and make another line. And then make a bit of a diagonal line here. And then again, move towards the center with a curved line. And using this, we are going to create the hourglass shape. We'll start here, make a curved line towards the center, and then we'll move down here to connect these two parts. Then we'll make a little circle right in between these two circles. So halfway, we'll draw a circle. It'll be a little bit smaller than the other one. Again, you can use the quick shape. So it'll be about this size. And then we are going to make like a twister shape. We'll start here, make a curved line like this. So it's about, well, it's like an S shape. Then we'll make another one underneath. Like this, little curve. And we'll go all the way down until we reach that middle circle. So we have these curves like this, and then we have another one that's attaching to the circle. Then we can do this again. We can connect these parts until we are here. And you can go over a little bit. You can adjust them a little bit if one is too big or too small. So you end up with like a twister shape like this. So now in just a few minutes, we have created our basic hourglass shape. And this basic sketch is enough to get started with our inking process. But first, let's add our paper. To add our paper photo, which I have linked in the description, we need to go to the wrench, then to add, and then to insert a photo. And then over here, you can pick your photo. I'm going to use this one. This is the one that I have linked in the description. So let's tap it. And you can see that it's not covering the entire canvas yet. So let's zoom out. Let's pinch here on the side. Don't pinch inside the photo. Otherwise, you will be making the photo smaller or bigger. And then let's just drag these handles. Make sure that you have it set to uniform. Drag the handles like this until the entire canvas is covered. Then tap the arrow. And now you might notice that the paper is a little bit yellowish. It's a little bit dark. We can adjust that a little bit by going to the magic wand. Then we can go to use saturation brightness. And we can turn down the saturation. So that way it won't have any color and it won't have that yellowish look. And we can also make it a little bit brighter by turning up the brightness here. Let's set it to 54%. And then tap the magic wand again. By the way, if you want to see a preview, if you want to see the before and after, you can tap your finger on the screen and then use preview to see the before and after. Then just tap the magic wand and we are ready to get started inking. Well, almost ready. Of course, we need to put our photo, our paper, underneath our sketch layer. Then we are going to lower the opacity of our sketch layer. So tap the N, slide to the left, let's set it to 35%. And now let's make a new layer on top of our sketch layer. So we'll tap the plus. And to make sure that our paper texture will be visible through our ink, we are going to change the layer blending mode of this layer. You need to tap the N and then scroll up to linear burn. That way, when you paint with a dark gray on your layer, you will still see that paper texture. And for the brush, we are going to use a brush from the Treasure Chest brush pack. And that's the fine liner brush. Now we are going to stick with the same color. We're using the same gray throughout the entire video. The opacity of the brush is at 100% and let's set the size to 10%. Now to make our life easy, we are going to use that symmetry tool again. So we need to go to that layer, we need to tap it and then turn on drawing assist. When you see assisted underneath the layer name, you'll know that symmetry or whatever drawing guide you're using, that it is active. So now let's start going over our lines. We can start here on that side and then just rotate your canvas so you can easily make this curve. And you might need a few tries, don't worry. And then for this one as well, go towards the center and just follow all of the lines that you have created with your sketch. And this one and that extra line. Then we have this ball and we have this little line here for that curve behind it. Let's make it a little bit smaller perhaps. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen to make it perfectly round. You might need to adjust it a little bit, add some more thickness. And then for that one in the center, again, make a circle, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen. And then we can start making that curved thing. We'll start here and make these S shapes first. You don't have to follow your sketch exactly. Maybe you need to adjust a little bit. And then down there. Then we can connect these parts. All the way up until you connect at the top. Then let's make the hourglass shape. Let's start here. Just start wherever you feel comfortable. Maybe you feel comfortable over here moving up, or maybe you feel comfortable over there. Just try to find the spot where it's easiest for you to create that curve. Then we have that part behind our hourglass. I'm going to make it a little bit higher here because we have that line there. I'm going to place it there. Feels a little bit awkward in the corner, so I'm going to add a little bit more volume here. Just masking that a little bit, that it feels a little bit awkward. And you can definitely add some volume to some of the lines. For instance, we could make the hourglass a little bit more prominent, a little bit more thick. It's nice to put some line weight variety in your pen and ink drawing. For instance, we could also make this line a little bit thicker. Then I would also like to add a little bit of interest to this area. I want to make these lines like this, diagonal here. And then as we move towards the center, they will get more vertical. Until you are at the center like this. And now we are finished with our symmetry. The rest of the stuff we are going to add won't be symmetrical, so we can turn off the drawing guide. We can go to the wrench and then to canvas, turn off the drawing guide, and then tap the wrench again. Now symmetry isn't turned off actually. If you go to the layers, you'll see that assisted is still turned on. So we need to tap the layer and then turn off drawing assist. And let's also turn off our sketch. We don't need that anymore, so just turn it off or remove it if you like. And then let's continue adding some interest to our hourglass. Let's start over here by adding some vertical lines. Throughout this process, I'm going to imagine that the light is coming from this direction, so all the shadows will be on the opposite side on our hourglass. So there will be shadow on this side of that edge. So we are going to create some hatches there. And as we move to the center, we are going to make the space between the lines bigger. And we are going to make them a bit more transparent to get that idea that there is a bit of shadow on the left side. We'll do the same here at the bottom. So just make some vertical lines and turn up the space between them as you move to the center. Then I would like to add a little bit of texture to, well, the top part of that wooden plate. We're going to make some lines that follow that curve. So some rounded shapes, as if these are ripples in the water. It's a bit the same. We'll do that at the top as well. I find it comfortable to rotate my canvas a little bit to make it easier to create these curves. So just a few of these lines as if they are ripples in the water. Next, let's add some interest to the side part. We are going to add the suggestion that this is wood. We are going to create some of these curvy lines in some random places. They have some distance between them. You can also make a shape like this, loop back up. And we are going to go along that entire width, creating a pattern like this. Try to vary the distance a little bit between the lines. So something like this, and then we'll do the same here at the top. So again, just make these diagonal curves. You don't have to give this too much thought. We are also going to add extra texture here, so it won't be super prominent, but it gives that idea of like a wood texture. Almost there. This is looking great. Now it's time to add more texture to the outside of our hourglass before we start adding some stuff on the inside. So let's create another layer underneath our line art layer. So we'll tap this layer, then we'll tap the plus, and then we are going to set this layer to linear burn as well. So we need to tap the N and then scroll up to linear burn. Now we are going to change our brush. And we are going to scroll up in the treasure chest brush pack, and we are going to use the Stipple 2.0 brush. Now, the opacity for this brush is at 100%, and let's set the size to 30%. And let's start with the top and bottom part. And to make sure that our stipples stay inside of the shape, we are going to make use of a selection, because whenever you select something, when you make a selection, you can only paint or erase inside of that selection, which is super handy in this case. So let's go to the selection tool. That's the S shape ribbon. Set it to freehand and make sure that this is not turned on. That color fill is not turned on, only freehand. And now we are going to make a freehand selection of that top part. So just go along the outline of the shape. Now you might need to rotate your canvas every once in a while to make sure that you can easily follow that line. We'll go down here and then we'll go back. Try to stay inside of the line till you are all the way back. And you can close the selection by tapping that little circle. So now we have a selection and we can only paint inside of it. We are going to tap the brush, and now with light pressure, we are going to go over this area. I'm making up and downward strokes using very light pressure as I move towards the right, because remember the light is coming from this direction, so this area will be lighter, and here we will have more shadow, so more stipples. We're going to add more stipples here, use more pressure and less as we move to the right. So it should look something like this. And we can repeat this process and do this for the bottom part as well. So let's make a selection there now. We'll tap the S shape ribbon and then tap it again so we can make a new selection. So again, just follow the outline. Rotate your canvas if you need to. And just follow that outline. Rotate it again. You don't have to do it in one go. You can stop and then continue your line and then close the selection by tapping that little circle again. So now we have a selection again. We can tap the brush, and again we'll make the left side darker and make it lighter as we move to the right. So we'll make more strokes on the left side and use more pressure, and use light pressure and create less strokes on the right side. So you'll end up with something that looks like this. Now tap the S shape ribbon again to turn off the selection. And now we are going to do this same thing for our little swirly whirly shape. And again, we will need to use the selection tool. So tap the S shape ribbon. And we will need to do this shape by shape. Skip the ball at the top and make a selection like this. Then grab the brush and add the stipples on the left side and here at the bottom a little bit. Then we'll tap the S shape ribbon again and again, and then we'll move on to the next shape. Close the selection, grab the brush, add more shadow to the left, more stipples to the left and the bottom. Then tap the S shape ribbon twice again and select the one underneath. Close the selection, grab the brush, add the stipples like this, then double tap the S shape ribbon again to move on to the next one. And you will do this for every single part except for the circles. Now grab the brush, add the stipples, then double tap the S shape ribbon and do this one. Then grab the brush again, add the stipples to the lower left side, and then move downward. So again, double tap the S shape ribbon, make a selection of this area, and then again grab the brush and add the stipples to the left side. Double tap the S shape ribbon, make another selection, grab the brush, and add the stipples. Double tap the S shape ribbon, 3 more to go on this side, make the selection, grab the brush, and add the stipples. This is also a great exercise to improve your pen control. Double tap the S shape ribbon, make the selection. Like this is a great exercise. Close it, grab the brush, and add the stipples. On the left side, double tap the S shape ribbon, and then for the final one here on the left side, and close the selection, grab the brush, and then add the stipples on the lower left side, and then tap the S shape ribbon again. And then we will repeat this entire process on the right side. You know what? Let me just do that magically for you. Now you're going to do something similar for those circles. Let's make a new layer for that. We need to tap the plus, and now we need to set this to linear burn as well. So tap the N, then scroll up. And now to easily be able to fill these circles with our gray, we are going to tap the top layer with the lines. We're going to tap it and turn on reference. Now when we go to this layer, we can easily drag in the color into those circles. Here, tap continue filling, and then just tap each of these to fill them with our gray. Then we will go back to our layer menu. We'll tap this layer with the color, and then we'll tap mask. Now we have a layer mask attached to this dark gray circle layer. And when we paint with black on this layer mask, we will mask parts of that dark gray. Now it's already set to black. And now let's just go over the top right area for each of these circles to add some light there. Because remember, light is coming from this direction, so we'll have some light here. Making circular motions, little pressure to add this effect. So now that we have this, it's time to add something inside of our hourglass. Again, we'll make a new layer for that. Just to be sure, let's tap the plus. And then for our brush, we are going to go back to our fine liner brush. And at first we are going to make a shape in here. We'll start here, make a curve going up like this. Then let's rotate our canvas a little bit and make a curve in this direction. So it's like an S shape. And then we'll make another curve like this. So it's like an infinity sign, a little bit. Use a curve like this, then we'll go down here. And we're not touching the sides of our hourglass. I feel like we didn't set the layer to linear burn, by the way. Did we forget or did I undo it accidentally? I don't know. Let's go to the layer menu, tap the N, and scroll up to linear burn. And then let's continue. Let's rotate our canvas and connect these two parts. Again, not touching the edge of the hourglass. So just a curved line. So we have this unfinished infinity sign. Now I want to fill this color, but we do need to make sure that we turn off reference on the top layer. Otherwise it won't work. So let's tap it, turn off reference, and then go back to layer 7. And then you can drag in a color into this shape. You might need to adjust it a little bit, or you might need to adjust your color drop threshold. So just adjust these edges a little bit. And you might need to adjust the curve a little bit. And now we are going to use the eraser. So tap and hold the eraser again so that it's set to the fine liner. And make sure that the size is set to 10%. And the opacity should be at 100, of course. And now we are going to follow that curve. So we were here and we are going to make that curve back up here. So now it really looks a bit like liquid. You might need to adjust some edges. You can do that with the eraser, tidy some things up, but it should look something like this. Then let's move up to this area. We are going to do that on a separate layer as well. So let's tap the plus, then let's tap the N. Let's not forget to set this to linear burn. And then we are going to create some sandy dunes here. We'll start about here. Again, we won't touch the edge of our hourglass. We'll start here. We do need the brush. So first select the brush. So we'll start about here. Make a curvy line like this. And then one a bit more pointy over here. Again, not touching the side. Then we'll start here at the top. Make a wiggly shape like this. And another one from over here. So now we have our sandy dunes. Now we are going to make these puffy clouds with lots of rounded shapes. We'll start here, again, not touching the side. And we are going to make these simple wobbly shapes. Then we'll start here, make a bigger one. And every once in a while you can make a little curve like this. We'll go up here. Another curved shaped cloud. And at the end, don't touch the edge. We'll make another shape over here. Here we can make another curved shape in the other direction. And towards the side. And then for another one over here, a little bit smaller, curvy shape. And connected to that cloud. And we are going to make some extra wigglies underneath these curves. I'm using a little pressure so the line will be a little bit thinner. And just under some of these curves, make an extra little line to add some extra interest here. So along this. Just an extra parallel line. Then we are going to start here at this edge, this cloud. We'll make a line going up, not touching the edge here as well. Go upward. And then we are going to connect those two areas. And then make a line, use a little pressure so that it's pretty thin. If you have trouble making a thin line, then you can also make your brush a little bit smaller, don't worry. So something like this. And now we are going to make sun rays. We are going to make lines. We'll start in the center with a line like this. And then we'll make lines going outward. But they will get more diagonal as we move towards the outside. So something like this. And on the other side as well. So now we have our clouds, we have our hills, we have this over here. We need a bit of extra texture. We need some stipples here for our hills, definitely. Let's get started with that. Let's do that on a new layer underneath this one. So let's tap this layer and tap the plus. Tap the N to make sure that you set it to linear burn. And then for the brush, we are going to grab the Stipple 2.0 brush again. Then we are going to make a selection so we're sure that we won't be going outside of our hourglass. So grab the associate ribbon. And first, let's go over the hills. So follow that shape towards the outside of the hourglass. Follow this shape, and I want the sand to move into this lower area. So let's just loop here, go back all the way up until you can close the selection. Maybe we can add a little bit more here just to be sure. Make sure that it's set to add. Then just loop here to make sure that our sand can go all the way if it wants to. Then grab the brush and let's add stipples here, making rounded shapes just like this, and then it's going downward here a little bit. I want this area to be darker than this one and this one. So we'll need to do a little selection tool trick again. So let's remove a part of our selection. We'll tap and hold the S shape ribbon so we get back to the selection menu, and then we'll tap remove here. And first let's remove this part of our selection, close it, and then for this part of the hill, we'll follow this line, go in this direction, and then along the edge and close it. Now we can go back to the brush, and these parts are removed from our selection, so we can make this a little bit darker, create a nice edge, and over here as well, especially near the top. It gives some more interest to our desert hills here. I'll tap the S shape ribbon. Now I want to clean up this edge, just like this one. I want some space between the edge of the hourglass and that little landscape. So let's grab the eraser and then let's just clean that up. Let's just go along the edge and create that distance between the sand and the hourglass. Here as well, follow the curve of the hourglass until it looks like this. Now finally, I want to add a touch to this area. I think it's too dark. It needs some texture too. So let's go to that layer. That should be this one. Yeah, that's it. Tap it and then add a layer mask. So we'll tap the layer and then we'll tap mask. And then on this layer mask, we will paint with our Stipple 2.0 brush again. So let's go over here with rounded motions, a little pressure, just a little bit here. And then here I want to remove a little bit more. I want that to be lighter, so I'll go over another time. So we have a little bit of difference between the top part and that bottom part. I also want to add some stars. We are going to use a different brush for that. We are going back to the fine liner brush. And now let's make some simple stars. Just some simple star shapes like this. Color it in. Just in a few areas. As if this is like a liquid galaxy. Or galaxy sand. Also some simple stars like this. Just a simple cross. And that's it. You have created a wonderful pen and ink hourglass illustration. I hope you had just as much fun as I did. I hope you are proud of your result. Be sure to share it. And if you had fun and if you want to turn this into a streak, then you might want to follow this tutorial, for instance. I would like to thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing your results, and I will see you next time for the next tutorial.